It all started with a radio ain't old, cracked one Ethan found in a dusty thrift store downtown. Ethan was the kind of guy who loved fixing things, taking what was broken and making it whole again. He said it was relaxing, a way to quiet his mind. The man at the counter, a stooped figure with eyes that had seen too much, warned him against it. It picks up things it shouldn't, he'd said. A wry, half-joking smile on his lips that didn't quite reach his eyes. Etho just smiled back, paid the few dollars, and took his new project home. That night, he cleared a space on his desk, the old wood groaning under the weight of his textbooks and half-finished sketches. He plugged the radio in, and with a sense of quiet anticipation, turned the dial. Nothing but static, a familiar, hissing sea of white noise. Disappointed but not discouraged, they left it on the sound, a strange sort of company in a silent apartment. They went to bid the static, a lullaby of lost signals. Then it happened. At exactly 2:13 a.m., a voice sliced through the noise. It was clean, sharp. "Can you hear me?" Ethan shot up in bed, his heart hammering against his ribs. The voice was faint, eerily calm, and he couldn't place the gender. He stumbled out of bed and crept toward the desk, thinking it was just some late-night talk show, a rerun from a forgotten era. He leaned in close, his own voice a hesitant whisper. "Yes." The static crackled, and the voice answered back immediately. "Good. Don't be afraid. You fixed the connection." The air in the room changed. It grew heavy, thick, as if the static wasn't just a sound but a physical presence, a fog rolling in. A shiver traced its way down Ethan's spine. He reached for the dial, his fingers fumbling, trying to turn it to find another station, anything else. But the knob was stuck, frozen in place. The voice continued, its serene tone making the situation even more terrifying. It started describing things in his room: the lamp on your desk, the open notebook with the drawing of a bird, the photograph of your sister on the wall. Then the calm voice dropped a single, horrifying sentence. "Someone is standing behind you." A spoon around the strangled cry caught in his throat. Nothing. There was nothing there, only his own wide-eyed, terrified reflection staring back from the dark void of the window. His breath hitched when he slowly turned back to the desk. The radio was silent. The power light was dead, even though the plug was still firmly in the wall. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the window, chasing away the shadows and the lingering fear. It had to be a dream, he told himself, a vivid, stress-induced nightmare. He almost believed it. But that night, as the clock on his phone ticked over to 2:13 a.m., the radio flickered to life on its own. The same thick static filled the room. The same disembodied voice emerged from the speaker. And every night, it told him something new. Things no one, absolutely no one, could possibly know. It whispered hidden secrets from his childhood, memories he'd buried deep. It spoke the names of friends he hadn't seen or spoken to in over a decade. He became obsessed. A moth drawn to it, terrifying, inexplicably. Sleep became a luxury he couldn't afford. He started recording the conversations, desperate for proof that he wasn't losing his mind. Each session was bizarrely precise. It lasted exactly 7 minutes before the signal abruptly cut out, plunging the room back into silence. But when he played the tapes back the next day, his blood ran cold. He could hear his own voice, his questions, his fearful whispers. But the other side of the conversation, it was gone, replaced by a dead, empty hiss. There was only him, talking to static. Weeks bled into a month. Ethan was a ghost of his former self. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his hands trembled constantly. His best friend, Mia, grew worried. The vibrant, focused guy she knew had been replaced by this haunted, distracted stranger. One evening, after her calls went unanswered, she decided to check on him. She found the apartment door unlocked. The only sound was the faint, unnerving hum of static. Ethan was hunched over his desk, the glow of the radio illuminating his pale, intense face. He was scribbling furiously in a notebook, his eyes wide and unblinking. "Mia," he whispered, his voice hoarse, not even looking up. "I was wrong. It's not just a signal. Its coordinates. Coordinates? She asked, stepping closer. Coordinates for what? He pointed a trembling finger to a map tacked to his wall. It was covered in a chaotic web of red lines, circles, and pushpins, all converging on a single point. There's something buried there, he said, his finger tapping a spot just outside of town. It wants me to find it. Against her better judgment, she agreed to go with him. That night, they drove down a dark, deserted service road near the woods. The air was cold and smelled of damp earth. Ethan brought the radio and a shovel. As soon as he set it on the hood of the car, the voice came through, louder and clearer than ever before. You're close. Keep digging. The ground was surprisingly soft, yielding easily to their shovels. Minutes later, Mia's shovel hit something with a dull, metallic thud. They dug frantically around it, unearthing a small, rusted tin box. With trembling hands, Ethan pried it open. Inside, nestled in decaying fabric, were old cassette tapes. Each one was labeled with a date, dates from years before Ethan was even born. They scrambled back into the car, a sense of dread hanging between them. Ethan pushed one of the old tapes into the car's cassette player. A hiss of static, and then the voice. The same calm, controlled, genderless voice from the radio. If you found this, you have already started the loop. The signal will lead you home. And then, another sound. A whisper, almost lost in the static, but unmistakably there. It was Ethan's voice. Don't trust it. Mia stared at him, her eyes wide with confusion and fear. Ethan, that's you. That's your voice on the tape. He shook his head violently, his face a mask of disbelief. No, it can't be. It's impossible. Suddenly, the radio on the hood screeched, a deafening blast of noise. Every frequency flared at once, a chorus of static. And through the chaos, a single phrase repeated over and over, layered on top of itself. Finish the connection. Finish the connection. The car's headlights flickered wildly. The air itself felt charged, humming with an invisible, oppressive energy. The dial on the old radio spun on its own, a frantic blur, before landing on a dead channel. And then, complete silence. Mia, her heart pounding, turned to Ethan, but he was gone. The driver's side door was wide open, swinging gently in the breeze. The only thing left was his notebook on the seat. She picked it up. The pages were a frantic mess of numbers, lines, and calculations. On the very last page, a final, chilling entry was scrolled. 2:30 a.m. I think I'm the signal. A week later, police found the abandoned car on that lonely service road. There was no sign of Ethan. The radio and the tin box of tapes were gone, months passed. Mia tried to move on, to forget the impossible events of that night, but the fear never truly left her. Then, one night, as she lay in bed, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. She glanced at it, expecting a late-night text, but the screen was just a glitching mess of static. Through her phone's speaker, she heard a faint sound, a hiss, and then a voice. A familiar, desperate voice that made her soul turn to ice. It was Ethan. Mia, can you hear me? Her screen flickered, the pixels rearranging themselves. The time read to 30 a.m. Thanks for tuning in to this story. If you enjoyed this trip into the unknown, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales that question the fabric of our reality. Stay safe, and maybe think twice before plugging in that old radio. See you next time.